Okay, we want to get started with the panel, and I want to, Dr. Stobie's going to be our moderator for the panel, and we have 4 young adults with autism who are going to share their voices today, so I'm going to let Dr. Stobie announce people and give the questions to the panel. Here's your clicker right there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, hello everybody, and hi you guys.
Hello.
Thanks for coming and joining and helping out today. So I am told I'm going to start by just introducing you guys, and I think we have a little tiny bio that is just going to show up, and then the plan is that we have these questions that I think you guys have had an opportunity to already look at, and we're going to go through those. And then I would imagine after those questions that we'll have some questions from the audience. Okay? So now, of course, I already know that the order of the panel members up there is not the order that you guys are sitting, so that screws up my brain to look at that. So, so why don't you raise your hand? So there's Dana, age 22, Ben, age 26. And it's Nathalia,
yes,
age 25,
hello,
and Nick, age 21. Okay? And Dana is currently a student here at Seattle Pacific University. And Dana states that we have up there, autism is described as a neurological disability disorder. I would say that it is not quite as simple as that. People on the spectrum, like anyone else, do not fit a prescribed set of stereotypes. I enjoy hiking, walking around Queen Anne, reading, playing games, studying world events, among other things. All right. And Ben, age 26, Ben says, when asked the question about what he wants people to know, I want people to know that autism isn't a disease. It doesn't make a person any less. It's a neurological variation of the human condition. Also states, being autistic doesn't end at age 18. Autistic children become autistic adults. And I personally would like to see a higher rate of employment for individuals on the spectrum. Nathalia is working as a licensed pharmaceutical technician, and Nathalia says, as a tiny child, I knew very well I was different, and I took that to be that I was quite special indeed. I would like to say to well-intentioned guardians of autistic young adults, let adults be adults, and trust that you have done well. For scared parents of young children, I say, have faith. He has you. Very nice.
thank you.
And Nick, looking nice in his tux, attends and works at Everett Community College and says, I would like for people to know that people on the autism spectrum are people. We have many diverse interests, handicaps, and abilities. Temple Grandin put it best when she said that we are different, not less. And I'd like for people to know that no matter what you might be labeled as or what hardships may be thrown your way, you can accomplish amazing things. Well, I think all 4 of you guys, you can see some themes that are standing out, with what you guys are saying. So, so we want to kind of go through some more detail, and I think I'll maybe start with Nick asking a question. Just tell us a little bit more about your personal life, what your interests are, what you do for fun. So we heard you work up at Everett Community College. Maybe tell us about how you're spending your time these days.
I graduated from high school back in 2013. I pretty much spent my time just pretty much going to classes. I got involved in drama again in college. I really like doing plays and sketch comedy and stuff like that. I can go into detail about my job. I work as a student leader at Everett Community College. I'm the ASB VP of Public Relations and Student Involvement there. I spend a lot of time working there, earning a little money, and also getting to get more experience with working with different people. I recently put on an autism awareness event last Thursday, and I hope that becomes a standing event at Everett Community College now. So that's kind of what I've been up to.
Does Everett Community College have any special supports built in for young adults on the autism spectrum?
They do have this, I don't know if you'd call it a service or like a department. It's the Center of Disability Services. It's not specifically for autism, people with autism, but like they do help accommodate different students' needs and are willing to help you have a place to take your test if you need a quiet place, or work with your professors to help accommodate whatever support that you may need to be successful.
Great. Dana, tell us a little bit about your life. You're going to school here at SPU. Are the classes pretty difficult, or are they?
Hi. Well, I went to Roosevelt High School, class of 2011. So before I came to SPU, I went to community college. I went to North Seattle Community College, and starting college was definitely a bit of a challenge because the classes were just very different from what I was used to in terms of how they were structured. Like, it was a lot more, it involved a lot more like self-reliance and being able to learn how to do things for yourself both in school and out of school. SPU, for the most part, follows that trend. The classes, they're challenging, but most of them are also fun, which is good. I'm studying theater here, and I really liked theater in high school, and so I decided to pursue that in college. I originally thought about going into education when I started, but I decided to take a leap and try theater, so it's been fun so far.
Nice move. I like that. That's great. Ben, you're a little older. You're not officially going to school, but I'm going to let you plug the Alyssa Burnett Adult Life Center, as I said. So tell us about how you're spending your time these days.
Okay, how's everyone doing out there? Yeah. Hey, my name is Ben, 26. Graduated in '06 from Shorewood, and went to first Edmonds Community College, and then transferred out of there a year and a half later to Shoreline, I think up until '09, and I kept failing math. I failed it like 5 times. I know, I don't know. I got all the tutoring, that I could, went to see the professor in their office hours, used the Disability Resource Center, ended up taking a lot of psychology, a lot of biopsych research fundamentals, chemistry, but it was math. Anyway, came kind of close to getting a 2-year, I was gonna transfer, but it didn't work out. Then, that was 2010, spent a few years just really doing nothing, trying to get Department of Services for the Blind, and then DVR, and then Department of Services of the Blind again, then now DVR. Complicated the system to get through. I probably could just go get a job, probably a store clerk down at any one of the local stores around where I live, but I really don't want to do that. I'd rather, at this point, I kind of want to be a yoga teacher for disabled people. So I'm trying to get through that on DVR, and yeah, I've been going since April of 2014 for a whole year now. The Alyssa Burnett Adult Life Center in Bothell, is Dr. Stobie was talking about and mentioned earlier. I've taken a number of cooking classes. I've taken life skills classes, just some music and open rec just for fun, and that's what I've been doing.
What's the name of that? Burnett?
The Alyssa Burnett Center.
Alyssa Burnett.
And you said yoga instructor?
Yeah, I want to.
When did you start thinking about that?
For a while now. I know I would not do well at a just 9 to 5, sit there at a desk job and just twiddle my thumbs, maybe go on Facebook, maybe, I don't know, between doing whatever office, I'm just not cut out for office jobs. I mean, I had a summer job when I was 15, and dude, people just working there, just telling you to do this, do that real quick, then yelling at you when you don't do it right, and I don't really want to go back to that kind of job community, so I think getting up and doing something more fit will keep me more focused and that sort of thing.
Great. Nathalia, how about,
Yes.
tell us about a little bit more about you.
Well, allow me to clarify. I am not working as a pharmaceutical tech.
Okay,
I am licensed as one.
okay,
So I have the ability to work back in the pharmacy, but no, what I do, and I'm up to full-time hours now, they only started me as part-time, is I am a greeter.
okay,
I am a greeter, more or less, at a Rite Aid up on Barton, South End.
okay.
And that's interesting about work, actually. If we're expected to be honest, is every day at work I am an actress. I'm an actress while I work, and I come home and I'm exhausted. I come home and I pass out on the sofa because it's very exhausting. And if there was some sort of, I don't know if, I suppose I won't ever want to be medicated all the time, but if there were something to help with the ease of, I don't think more neurologically developed people have to be as much of an actress as I do while I am at work with a supervisor and with the population coming in and out of the store. So
Who are you working, are you working with a counselor through DVR that helped you find this job, or how did you end up finding this job?
no, Mother, I didn't qualify for DVR. Isn't that I didn't qualify for DVR, or I grew out of it? So we are still, Mother and I, she's, bless her, she's always present, bless her. I think with my, actually, Nisa, with my new provider who works for you, Nisa Freed, we are gonna start to look into some adult services.
Okay. So this was a job that Mom found, or that you found?
She helped.
She walked in and said, she saw a sign that says job opening.
Yeah.
So she applied. She also told them on the onset, she said, I have autism.
Yeah.
And
No, the phrase I used was autistic
he said
and ADHD.
yeah. So she told him right off the bat there wasn't any problems in the training. And she's actually the cashier. She's learning the cashier.
Yeah, that's great.
Greeter.
Yeah.
Greeter.
Well, it's a great accomplishment so far. It'll be interesting to see where it goes and what happens.
Yeah, it's still scary,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, why? That's not always a bad thing, though.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, Dr. Rollo May, is he the one who said that a little anxiety is okay? Wasn't that?
Isn't
Dr.
always a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that was Dr. Rollo May. Right?
So the second question that we have up here, when were you diagnosed with autism and when did you learn about this diagnosis? So why don't we start with you, actually, Nathalia, and we'll reverse the directions. Yeah. So when were you diagnosed and?
Officially with autism?
Yeah.
Age 12, and it was 2002, and it was considered a rarity because I was female. And as it still is a rarity today, you know, you mentioned the stats, and all the speakers today have mentioned the stats. We've seen the stats. It's still a rarity, and there's you, and me.
So you, it's well,
2002
there's
was
probably a
even-
few more people out there in the audience too. So you mentioned earlier, at least in the slide that you put, that you knew at a very young age that you were different.
Yes,
What, do you remember that? Do you remember when you first thought that?
preschool.
Preschool, so at a very young age. Yeah. Can you?
The
just-
other children would intermingle, and I didn't actually feel the necessity or the want to intermingle, but I suppose even at that young age, I was able to consciously notice that I wasn't intermingling. There were little circles of
Yeah.
groups of other children, and I was over here, and I noticed it, but I was content.
You were fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I noticed it.
So how do you feel now? How do you feel this autism or being autistic? How does it affect you now? In what ways does it affect you?
I definitely had that in my notes, the notes that I had sent you. I don't know how it affects me because I have never not been autistic, so there's nothing I can compare it to.
We were at a panel in the fall. Ben was in that panel, and I remember him answering the question exactly the same way. So,
Yes.
yeah.
He's got it.
You know, so maybe Ben, do you want to add anything to that thought? You know, how does it impact you now, currently?
Do you want me to just start from the beginning of the question? Or
Yeah, sure. You could tell us when you were diagnosed and how you would describe its impact on you.
Okay. The first time that I know that I was diagnosed, before finding out that I was diagnosed before that, the first time that I knew I think it was 15. I think it was back in 2002. 2002 is a big year, isn't it? Before that, I had been probably not formally diagnosed with ADD, but I mean, first time I took meds for it was like 6th grade, so around the age of 18, my mom said, "Hey, do you know that your doctor used to tell me and your dad that you had pervasive developmental disorder in the late 80s? And I'm like, "Yeah, you know what, that would have been really helpful, you know?" And she's like, "I don't know what they call it now." I'm like, "Yeah, I think they call it being autistic." And she's like, "Oh, is that what they call it?" So I guess they knew all along and didn't tell me. I don't know, you know, I'm not gonna bring it up to them, but you know, what else do you want to know?
Well, how about now? How's it impact you now?
I mean, I can't go back and undo it. Not, I mean, I just try to get on with life as much as I can nowadays. You know, I try to remember everything that I'm supposed to remember. I get out there, I go to the center, I try to interact with people based around what I'm interested in, you know, get out, socialize. But I think what Nathalia was saying, that, I mean, I really have nothing to compare it to. It's like, how is being neurotypical or not autistic? I mean, it's like asking how is that as compared to being autistic, and then you would have the answer, because, I mean, unless you're autistic, it's like, I don't have anything to compare it to. I can't just, you know, just flip a switch and say, oh, hey, I'm neurotypical, I'm all happy and you know, you know, it's what it is. It's life. It's
Well put.
body back.
Dana, what do you have to add to that? So when were you diagnosed, and what are your thoughts about it now?
I'm pretty sure I was first diagnosed when I was about 3 or 4 with Asperger's syndrome. I didn't really know what that was until I was around 10 or 11. I mean, before that, I knew that there was something about me that was different, simply because, at least in elementary school, some of my classes were structured a little differently. Like, there would only be like 2 or 3 other people, and I would go to like short class periods where we would have like, where we would learn like how to do social interaction. So I guess that's when I found out. I guess for middle school and high school, it became kind of more challenging to really understand what that meant, because I felt very isolated a lot of the time. But I guess by the time I finished high school, that was less of an issue. And I mean, I still feel that way now to some extent, but it's definitely improved a lot. I feel like for me it takes a lot of courage to try to be, you know, friendly with people some of the time. Like, it depends on like the circumstance and like the environment and all that, but that's definitely one thing. And then like academically, just I feel like at the time I felt a little bit, you know, like when I was younger, I didn't really like having the extra attention, but in retrospect, it probably made me more independent than I would have been otherwise, which is definitely something that I'm glad about.
Great. Nick?
Let me look at the question again. Okay. I was told that I was diagnosed with autism when I was 5 years old, but my parents didn't tell me until I was 13. Is that right, Mom? They didn't tell me that because I think their reason was they didn't think that I would be able to really understand what it was at the time. Is that right? And
we didn't want you to be limited necessarily by like.
Yeah, what she said. And, you know, as far as like, how would you describe your autism? I'm pretty much like what they said. How can you really compare what your autism is? It's like saying, what's it like to be you? You know, it's like, well, I could tell you about what my life is like, but really, it's hard to say how it's specifically the same or different from anyone else unless you have some ability to step into someone else's body. So, but I can say that, you know, living with autism throughout my life is, it's given me some challenges, and it's also given me some benefits as well, I think. Like, in terms of the challenges, I had troubles kind of interacting with my peers growing up, issues, kind of not wanting to leave my comfort zone, I guess you could say. I had a lot of time where I spent alone instead of hanging out with other kids my age. Excuse me. Some other challenges, I also have a lot of sensory issues. I hated pep rallies in high school. I would find any way possible to avoid them because the loud noise would kind of bother me and other stuff. Luckily, I found ways to cope with that now, which maybe I'll get to a little later. But in terms of like benefits, autism, at least in my life, I really do think that it's allowed me to look at things in a different way that I don't think other people do. I really do think that I'm able to see like certain details and things that other people miss, or like my mom was telling me the other day, like how I can question something that she just accepts as normal and let her look at it in a whole new perspective. Plus the way I think, like, what was the name of that book? Well, I forget the name of this book, but there was this autistic savant, and he thought of things like... That was it.
Daniel Tammet?
What?
Daniel Tammet?
Yeah, that was it. Where he thought in like colors and numbers. I kind of think in musical melodies. So like, to kind of help me remember details about people, my mind just kind of comes up with little beats about people. So whenever I look at them or think about them, their melody plays in my head, and then I can just kind of remember like stuff about them, details that I need to know for later. So, yeah.
Great. So I'm reversing the order to mess with the pre-planning here, so I'm going to go back and stay with you, Nick. This next question, what do you like about having autism? Kind of a continuance, kind of what you already were talking about there. It sounds like that's pretty interesting. Some aspects that you enjoy about it, and that you don't enjoy. Anything else anything specific that you say when you look at yourself that I like this about myself?
Well, like I said, I really like the melody thing because I haven't met anyone else who really thinks that way yet. But if I do, that would be kind of cool because we can connect. But that's for another day. In terms of something that I really like about myself is, I guess, there's this stereotype that exists that autistic people don't feel emotions, or they don't have empathy, right? You know what I mean? And I really feel like, because I've struggled with kind of recognizing like certain features at first and other stuff like that, maybe not fully grasping what emotions were at first, that it has helped me to really become more empathetic to people and more sympathetic to people and more understanding and thoughtful about things than I would be if I didn't have to work extra hard at it. I also think that it's made me a better actor. Like I said, I love doing theater. I've been in 4 or 5 shows. And stuff that I used to do when I was a kid, I would watch cartoons. And when I would watch the cartoons, I would pay close attention to the way that the characters looked when they felt sad or happy. And those things really stuck with me. And it really helped me to kind of learn what happiness looks like and what sadness looks like and what all these different things look like, so I could take that further into my adult life and not only use it in my in social situations, but also use it in my whenever I act. So I would say that.
Great. And Dana, you mentioned you're doing theater. Is it a similar feeling that you have, or different about kind of what you think about your strengths or what you like about yourself?
Growing up, I really liked to, and I still do this, although I don't usually tell people. I used to just like to play by myself, like in my backyard. I used to like to, you know, pretend I was like a knight, specifically like I like to pretend I was King Arthur, pulling out the sword and the stone. So I love doing that. Yeah, like I had like some exposure to theater when I was younger. When I was in elementary school, there was a mandatory Shakespeare play when I was in 5th grade. So when I did that, that was pretty fun. When I went to high school, when I first went there, I really liked what I saw in their theater program, but I was very hesitant to really get involved because I was just hesitant about doing just about anything. It was when I was a junior that one of my friends, he became one of my good friends over time, convinced me to try out for the musical, and so I did. I was definitely something that was very different from anything I had done before, but I think it definitely taught me a lot about, you know, just human interaction and how to work with other people. And that's one of the things I like about theater is the community aspect of it. Even if you'd never, you know, get, you know, your dream part, you can still, there's still a lot of like good things that you can do in that area. I guess what I've liked about Asperger's is that, I don't know, I feel like it's definitely I feel like I have a lot of interesting ideas that pop, that I think about, like, just like, I remember there have been a few times where I've done freelance writing. I've never attempted to publish it or anything like that. I've really just done it for fun, but a lot of it just kind of comes from, I like good storytelling, and so like when I read a book that I just really enjoy, it will often inspire, you know, me to write something like something in my own words that has like its own universe and its own characters, and I like the idea of just, you know, creating something. I just find that very rewarding. I also feel like it's made me, I feel like it may have made me more patient with others. So like when I see other people that, you know, when I see other people like that look like they're struggling or going through things, I feel like I'm not as, you know, quick to, you know, look at them and say that's weird or that's not acceptable, because that stuff just happens, and I think it's important to acknowledge it to some extent. Otherwise, we can't, you know, you can't really, you know, find solutions to like your struggles unless you're verbal with someone about it. That's something that I learned the hard way early on, and not early on, but I mean, it's something that I've had to learn a few times over the years, that it's important to, you know, speak up when, you know, something is troubling you. I feel like that's helped me be less, you know, resistant to listening to other people's, you know, emotion, hearing other people's emotions.
Great. Thanks, Dana. Ben, what about you? This question about what you like about yourself as it relates to autism.
What do you like and dislike, or?
You could do either one or both.
Okay. See, what do I like about myself as it relates to being autistic? Probably one of the biggest things that I think, because I'm autistic, and I've been around a lot of people with different disabilities, I think I'm a lot more of accepting of different types of marginalized people than the average person. Another thing that I think I do better than the average person at is detecting patterns and detecting errors, especially things like spelling errors. like sometimes I really could be like a grammar Nazi, but I've learned that, you know, there are some people who really don't like you telling them that they messed up saying there and not there. But, you know, there are people who kind of appreciate that thing, and you know, it's cool. So, a third thing that I like about being autistic is that, and I'm pretty sure this is probably not just me, but a lot of other autistic people as well, is that, as those guys were saying earlier, there seems to be this myth that goes around where, oh, autistic people can't have empathy. Yeah, we do have empathy, but we just don't show it the way that you guys are used to. But I think we feel it like a lot more. And I mean, I can't really concretely prove that this is the case, but it's just one of those feelings that I have. As for some of the struggles that I have with being autistic, sensory sensitivities, noise especially in very loud places just kind of overwhelms me. Also, some flashing lights kind of can make me a little seizure-ish, even though I haven't had a seizure in quite some time. It's been years. There are probably other things that, probably also people, just, they can meet me and I can tell by their facial expressions, are you all right? Or they always ask me, are you all right? Is something okay? Do you feel well? And to these questions, I just have to say, yes, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. You know, it kind of just, I don't know, I kind of get through feeling that people just look at me weird or don't want to be around me. Or, and I guess the final thing I don't like is kind of like Nathalia was saying earlier, so like, it feels every day when you go out in public, it's like putting on a face, it's like being an actor. You can get through it, but no matter how much exposure you get to other people, no matter how long you do it, no matter what anybody says, it doesn't get easier. It doesn't get, I mean, you can learn to go out and make it look like you're seamlessly interacting with people, but it just gets tiring. You just want to just go to bed when you get home. So that's what I got to say about it.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Natalia, you have...
Is this mine?
That is yours. Yeah.
Do you have one?
I have one. Yeah, mine's almost done. So here, I'll open this one for you.
No, that's for you.
Oh, you have it. Thank you, though.
You said yours was almost out. Okay, the question.
The question is, what do you like about having autism and what do you not like?
Okay, I had a few. And I sent them into Wilson because she had asked. Okay, I think what I had said, okay, number one, I came up with this, and it's that autism is genetic. That's pretty much a given. So if God wanted me to be this way, then that's good enough for me, you know? Mm-hmm. If it works for him, then might as well work for me too.
Okay.
So I like that.
I do too.
Okay, oh, thank you. Magnetism of small children and animals. I wonder if that might possibly be an autistic trait. They give off some pheromones or whatever that attract small children and animals.
That you attract them?
Yeah,
or- okay.
yeah.
Right,
they
they're attracted
flock
to you.
me. I
Yeah,
cannot walk through the park without children and animals.
yeah.
And euphoria. Whew, that one's debilitating.
Tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that.
By euphoria?
Yeah.
Okay, it makes my mother nervous because she knows that, and if I get too much into it, then it'll knock me over. But okay, for example, all of you, there's what, 100 of you in this room? And then there's others, downstairs in Gwyn, someone back there making noise. There's other people on the campus around, Fremont, Queen Anne, further, and they're all just doing their own things, Each individual, one as an individual, is loved infinitely.
And that thought is powerful.
It's pretty mind-boggling,
Yeah.
and if I do think about it too much, I will fall over. So I mean, if I can thank autism for that, then yes, that is why I like.
As long as you don't get hurt when you fall over, then I guess it's okay.
But it's hard on her
It's hard on mom. Yeah, it is hard on mom. So,
because it happens a lot.
all right.
Was there another part of the question?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
I think that's really good. Let's go. So this fourth question, now that you're a young adult, what advice would you give your parents who are raising a child or an adolescent with autism? So this is kind of you knowing what you know now, and let's say if you were to meet a parent and the parent let's say has a child that's 3 years old and the 3-year-old has autism. Do you want me to start with Nick? then
Oh
with the
no!
other guy? I was going to start with you again. Yeah, I was going to start with you again to mix it up. So, what would you tell that parent of a young child, knowing what you know now? Would you have good advice to give them?
My parents were able to get me through school and get me into a little work situation, and I mean, it was they were persistent. So I would say be persistent. If it's a situation where maybe your child simply is not going to and then that goes to like your different definitions of success, then be accepting and have faith.
Great.
But I'm not a parent though, so I couldn't be so presumptuous as to, say
Yeah.
I know how to be one. So.
Well, I think it's really helpful for them to hear from you, though, and so that I'm sure would be helpful to them.
And
so.
then I actually have a bit of advice for the children.
Okay.
What advice do you give to children and adolescents? Our adults and our caretakers are human too, so be patient with them.
Okay, so patience on both sides. That's nice. That's really good
And
advice. Good. Ben, how about you? Advice to parents or advice to the children?
Okay, we'll go first off with advice to parents. The biggest thing is presume competence. Just have faith in them, and especially the nonverbal ones. I mean, just because they're not verbally talking to you as we are now does not mean that they do not understand. I mean, I know a few autistic people who are nonverbal. They understand every single thing. I mean, there are so many different methods of AAC and alternative communication and I mean that sort of thing. Everyone has a voice, but it doesn't have to be verbal, you know. Also, if you can help it, I'd say keep your kid general ed, because I think that, I guess this was the case for me, probably the case for a lot of other autistic people too, but when I was a kid, I used to just play by myself a lot. And if my family hadn't forced me out on camping outings, on doing things with my brothers, I think I'd still be a lot of a recluse and not like know how to talk to people very well. But thankfully, I was out there, I was on the playground almost every day, hanging out with the other kids. I may not have liked it, it may have been a little too loud, but I learned how to deal with it. As for children and teens on the spectrum, I say, be who you are. I mean, kind of basically just screw the other people who want to make you like conform to their own neurotypical standards or whatever. Because if you try to go with the grain, if you try to be something you're not, you're going to get a lot of burnout, and that's going to lead to a bunch of mental health problems. It's going to open up a whole other can of worms that you just don't want to deal with and have to deal with years down the line. And also, bullies can be haters, so just ignore them. It's depending on how the severity of bullying is, it's just going to be like maybe 6 to 10 years of like bullying hell. But after that, these people aren't going to be part of your life. I mean, you're not going to ever see them again. So that's what I got to say.
That's great advice, man. Dana, how about you?
Well, I guess my advice for the parents would be, as far as like academic success is concerned, all kids, like whether neurotypical or not, have different learning methods. Some of them are more visual, some of them are auditory, some learn by reading. So I guess I'd recommend that, just find out how they learn best, and I'd recommend both to the parents and the teachers to at least initially try to make it fun. Try to, find a way for them to enjoy school, and like try and find, find out what they're interested in, and, I guess be active enough to, if they express that they want, to join some sort of club, like a boys and girls club, or, a hiking camping club, or like a Monopoly club at school or something like that. Like maybe help them find out about that, but also give them room to be independent and learn how to look out for themselves, because that's also really important. So that's really the advice I would have. I'd say don't force them to do anything, but there's nothing wrong with recommending stuff that they might enjoy, and asking them if they want to see how that goes for them. So that's where I go. As for the youngsters, I just advise you that's a hard one, because like I said previously, everyone's different, and there's no really one size fits all. But I just advise you, find out what you enjoy doing and stick with that, and figure out, maybe find out if there's any way you can incorporate that with learning and socializing with others.
Great. Nick, how about you on those questions? What would you tell the parents of a young child with autism?
The first thing is don't freak out, because, let's face it, autism's kind of a scary word. I remember my mom talking to me about like a couple weeks ago about when she was learning what autism was and being diagnosed, and how it was such a scary thing at the time, and still is today for people who don't know much about it, and even if you do know some of the things about it. But, you know, I guess my advice to parents would be, don't be afraid to not have a normal child. I mean, because when you think about it anyway, what is normal? Does normal really even exist? I mean,
On a statistical scale, but only statistical.
you know, normal is whatever is normal for you. So that's what I would say. Don't be afraid to have a child that's different, you know, and don't be afraid to, you know, try different things to help your child, you know. Do what is ever best for your child, because everyone on the autism spectrum is different. And just like how everyone on planet Earth is different. We all have our own different needs, our different likes, dislikes, you know, things that we need help with. And I would just say, you know, don't be afraid to just listen to what your child has to say, or what your doctors and all the other people who are here to help have to say, you know, stuff like that. As for the kids and adolescents, I would say, do not be afraid to move outside of your comfort zone. It's gonna be scary. I'm not gonna lie about that. And it's not always going to be easy. There are gonna be days when you want to quit and just go back into your little hidey hole and just do whatever you've been doing since you were born. But if you just keep at it, if you just keep pushing a little bit every day, then eventually you're going to get to a place where you're much happier than you were before. Trust me, I know. And that's the advice I would give.
Great. And I think this is, we have one last question. Is this the last one? Yeah, and then we'll take questions from the audience, okay? So this one, and you know, we'll start on the other end again next, so we'll start with you on this. So it says, what experiences in your school or with your teachers were most helpful for you? Maybe, and versus what, so for the young teachers out here, what advice would you give them on what worked and what didn't? And then there's a follow-up question about things that you'd like to have available as a young adult that maybe aren't available. So first, with what would you tell the young teachers? What works and what didn't work for you?
I'll start off with the negative so I can end with the positive.
Sounds good.
If you are a teacher, like, and for this example, say like in high school, please follow the student's individual education plan. Because I'm not going to name a name here, but let's just say there was an issue that was not fun to deal with a teacher who did not want to help. So I will say that, please just be supportive of your students and their specific needs. In terms of like their, some good experiences, let's see. I've had good experiences with a lot of my teachers back in high school and in college. In high school, a lot of the best experiences that I've had with teachers is just teachers who are willing to kind of, you know, sit down with me whenever I, you know, might not understand something, or just are willing to work with me with any issues that I have, and are just supportive all the way, and just can see the value that I bring into the classroom, and the value that I can continue to bring once I've learned all of the information from the classroom. And I'd say a lot of the same things for college classes as well. So the other part, this stuff is available to me, but I want to make sure that it's also available to everyone who needs it. So I'll just say this. It's like, I want to make sure that, you know, throughout the whole education system, you know, all the way up to college, and as far as that goes, I want there to be support for people on the autism spectrum, or just, you know, people who have different problems in general, who might need just a little different kind of support in certain ways to get them to where they need to go to be all that they can be. I mean, it's not like we can't be successful. I mean, I think all four of us up here are really good examples of successful people on the autism spectrum in young adulthood. But like, we've all had help in different ways of getting up here. And so I just think it's important to have people who are willing to help people like us, be supportive of us, and also know what our specific needs are so we can continue forward into adulthood.
Well said. Dana, how about you, thinking about what you liked about teachers or didn't like, and what advice you would give them?
All right. It's hard to really think of things to add, but I guess for me, support is a very, very important aspect for a teacher or an educator to have. Like, a lot of teachers work very hard. They have a lot of students to keep track of, but the ones that go the extra mile to look at you as not just, a number, say if it's a class of 20, they don't just check the box off saying, all right, you're the 18th student, but no, they see you as an individual and they care about you as well as your education. They realize that it's more than, just a letter grade, and that if you express to them that you want to learn and that you feel like there's some obstacle in your learning experience, they'll help you out with that. That's something that really, I think, is crucial. When I went to community college, I had one math professor that didn't quite fit the bill. So that was a little unfortunate, but other than that, I've had a lot of good experience with college professors. Many of them have been very, very helpful and supportive, and really worked hard to make sure that all of their students, they've been very diligent in making sure that everyone can succeed, as long as, they express that to them and they prove to them that, they are hardworking and are willing to work hard, but they just need the professor to know, where they're coming from. So that's what I'd say there. As far as programs available for young adults, my biggest thing is, I've definitely had access to a personal psychologist, and that's been really helpful. I haven't aided as much in recent years, but there are definitely times when it helps to have somebody like that to, just talk through, how you want, what your life's, just to let them know the direction your life is currently taking, and, helping them structure that to make sure that, you have something lined up that's cohesive and consistent, and that kind of gives you a plan of action for moving forward. So
Great.
that's what I'd say.
Excellent. Ben, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so the first thing, and I agree with Nick on this one, is if your child has an IEP, make sure that the district sticks to what's on the IEP and doesn't insert or take out things without your approval or even you knowing about it. That happened to me. So anyway, especially if you're supposed to be getting one-on-one counseling sessions with the school psychologist, and then it just stops midway third year because they think that you don't need it anymore. But besides that, what really worked for me, especially in 5th grade, I recall having a teacher who, instead of kicking me out of the classroom and saying, "You, principal's office," like every day, because I used to just get out of my seat and just, I could not stand sitting there for more than 10 minutes. I still can't. But basically she asked the teacher's aide to allow and go with me out to the track and field area where I would run laps and laps until I was winded down and winded down and winded down. But then I'll be able to go back to class and learn better, or at least for about 30 minutes until I become hyper again. Another thing that teachers can do is not everybody learns the same. Some people learn the best by using like tactile things like math blocks for math, or writing out story problems as pictures. Find what works best for the way that your child learns and go with it, because I bet you that they'll retain the information a lot better than if you have everybody sitting there typing out questions out of a book, because that doesn't work for everybody. Was there another part to the question?
The last thing about anything else as an adult that you'd like available to you?
I think I think the Alyssa Burnett Center is a good start. I also think it's crucial that any comorbid conditions, such as maybe anxiety, ADHD, I think that those are essential in getting treated, either by means of things like behavioral therapy or medication or both, because not everything is just related to the issues that come with being autistic. As Dr. Stobie was saying earlier, there are many comorbids that go alongside being autistic, and I think the more and the better that you treat those, the more that the autistic person will be able to move around independently. So
Great.
that's what my hope would be for autistic people in the future.
And Nathalia, you have thoughts on what to tell teachers and how to help them?
I just came up with this one just now.
Okay.
And I thought of it because this has happened to me on very many occasions throughout my whole life in school. But after I was diagnosed, I would have known more about it, that being autistic, sometimes, most times I need clarification for instructions for, say, a project or a homework or, an assignment. And this has happened to me, so very frequently. Teachers, if I come to you and I ask for clarification of instructions, I am not being argumentative. And I wonder if it was my tone of voice, but almost always, they would become defensive, the teacher, when I approach him or her and ask for clarification of instructions. I'm not being argumentative, and I'm not trying to take the easy route, say, oh, I don't understand, so I won't do the assignment. No, I legitimately did not understand, and would clarification would be greatly appreciated. So don't become defensive if that happens to you. So I just thought of that.
That's
one,
great.
'cause
I
it was
think that's great advice.
happened often, frequently. And then I also just thought of this one. And there might already be a program for, and not for children and adolescents so much, but for the teachers themselves, even general ed teachers. Is there just, are there classes, seminars offered to them for, understanding how to work with special needs children or special needs adolescents? I wonder, even for general ed teachers, if such a program doesn't already exist. Maybe it should.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So those
Okay.
are my 2 cents.
Good, great. So do we have any time for questions, or we're over time already? I'm sure we could probably stay here for hours and get questions, but you guys did such a good job of being really thoughtful with your answers, and really had amazing input. It kept everybody, I know, was watching the audience, and everybody really appreciates all of your viewpoints. So very thankful for you guys joining today and taking your time out of the day. We really appreciate hearing from you, and so we'll give you a round of applause.
Thank you all, and we will post lectures as much as we have with our power outage. We'll see how that one goes, but we'll try to get them on the SPU website. It usually takes 3 or 4 weeks, along with the lecture slides will be up there as well. So, yes, just log on to the website, and we'll have it for you. Thank you. Yeah.